I wonder, Sarah, if we shouldn't wait a few more minutes to see. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but we'll see if a few more people, if we're good to give it a few more minutes.
Sure.
We're missing, I think, quite a few, but. Okay, so I know that isn't a few minutes, but it drags on forever when you're waiting, really. So, okay, so why don't we get started, and then we'll have the recording available. So hello everyone. My name is Ann Cadd, and I'm the KDOT Safe Routes to School coordinator. It's good to see all of you. Like we said, we'll record the 2 webinars and put them on our website for you to access. And if you could put any questions in the chat, and then at the end, we'll have a Q&A, and then we'll start with the program introduction and overview. So you can see that KDOT has a history of safe routes to school plans, and this map, which you can find at our webpage, and it's under the About the Program tab, shows Kansas communities that have received safe routes to school funding and developed plans. The links at the right will take you to completed safe routes to school plans, so you can have an idea what a completed plan looks like. And our goal is to add more dots and stars and colors to our map. Okay, so this is this is a little picture of our 23-24 grant cycle recipients. You can see that we're working with 7 communities for Kickstart grants. We're working with 5 communities for planning grants, and the 5 communities would it includes 20 school buildings. So I think that's pretty impressive. Okay, so to start out, what is Safe Routes to School? And I'm going to hand it over to Sarah. And Sarah Schooley with Tool Design, and we'll learn more about Sarah in a little while.
Great. Thank you, Ann. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad that you're joining us today to learn a bit more about the KDOT Safe Routes to School planning and programming grants. So what is Safe Routes to School? The basis of Safe Routes to School is really that we believe that students and their families should be able to walk, bike, and roll to school safely, comfortably, and enjoyably. And so when we think about Safe Routes to School, historically, a lot of the Safe Routes to School program in Kansas has been very engineering heavy, which is great. And we love getting projects done. We love seeing crosswalks built. But we know as a practice that Safe Routes to School is a much larger, much more holistic practice. And so when we're thinking of Safe Routes to School here at KDOT, we think of 7 E's. So first there is that engineering, so the getting things on the ground, the making those projects happen. But then the other E's kind of round out and support the engineering program. So for example, education, we have things like bicycle and pedestrian education that can happen in or outside of the classroom. For encouragement, we have fun and exciting events that make walking, biking, and rolling to school fun and something that people want to do with their friends and their family and their community. Then with engagement, we're really looking for ways to work with and to empower people from throughout the community, from different backgrounds, to really make them feel that Safe Routes to School is their own. And then, of course, we have evaluation. Evaluation is something that any good program should do, and this is a way to see if the program has impacts and is helping to reach the goal that it's aiming for, which in the case of Safe Routes to School is having more kids safely walk, bike, or roll to school. Then the last two E's here, I think deserve a little bit of an asterisk. So equity, which is the newest E to the National Safe Routes to School program, is really about making sure that all students and their families, regardless of their lived experiences and backgrounds, can see themselves and can fully participate in Safe Routes to School programs. And so when we think about what communities we go into, or even about how we do the programs, we're always considering equity to make sure that there aren't barriers to individuals, students, and families in participating. And then lastly, we have enforcement. The big asterisk here with enforcement is that nationally, the enforcement E has been taken off the big Safe Routes to School list. But we know that in a lot of ways, enforcement still plays a role. And so here at KDOT, when we're talking about enforcement, what we really want to think about is enforcement as an educational tool. And so we're not thinking about enforcement as just we're writing tickets, but we're thinking of it more as communicating what the rules and expectations are around walking, biking, and rolling, and also thinking about how law enforcement can be a partner in the effort instead of just the rule enforcer. And so as you can see, Safe Routes to School is filled with a lot of different parts, and we're excited to be bringing all these parts to KDOT's program. So Anne, can I turn it over to you to talk about what KDOT Safe Routes to School program looks like?
Yes, thank you, Sarah. The KDOT Safe Routes to School program is, I think we're back a screen.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. The KDOT Safe Routes to School program is for all Kansas K-12 students. The Kansas Safe Routes to School E's that Sarah talked about help ensure that the program and projects work for students and families of all backgrounds, abilities, and situations. We're happy to start the second class of planning grant recipients. We learned lessons from the first round of planning grants and are excited to work with communities to develop Safe Routes to School plans, and to develop projects and activities that help increase the number of K-12 students who walk, bike, and roll to school. Okay, so KDOT Safe Routes to School has 4 major program areas. So first, planning and programming grants, P&P grants, provide funding to energize Safe Routes to School efforts to increase the number of K-12 students walking, biking, and rolling to school. Communications and outreach, rebuild statewide and internal KDOT awareness of Safe Routes to School. Resources and trainings, provide online resources and training to support adoption and implementation of Safe Routes to School programs and projects. Services, provide in-person technical service and assistance, telephone and email support, planning assistance, and safety education and curriculum. And so to introduce our team, here's our KDOT active transportation team. Matt Messina on the left is Chief of Multimodal Transportation. Jenny Kramer in the center is the Active Transportation Manager. And there I am on the right, Safe Routes to School Program Coordinator. Our KDOT staff is assisted by Tool Design and Burns and McDonnell to support statewide Safe Routes to School efforts. So Tool Design is a planning, engineering, and landscape design firm that has been working with Safe Routes to School programs for over 20 years. Tool will act as the primary manager of the program and provide planning and technical assistance statewide. Burns McDonnell is an architecture and engineering firm based in Kansas City, Missouri, that will be assisting with on-the-ground fieldwork and project design. And there's our beautiful website. And so you can check out our website where you'll find information about Safe Routes to School and KDOT Safe Routes to School programming, Safe Routes to School resources, upcoming news and events. You can sign up for e-news and register your school. Okay, so I'm going to hand it back to Sarah to talk about P&P grants.
Okay, thanks, Anne. So of course, why we're here today is to talk about the planning and programming grants. And as Anne said earlier, this will be our second class of P&P grant recipients. So we're really excited to keep this program moving along. But the first thing we wanted to talk about was that things are a little different this time around than last time around. And it's to help kind of consolidate our resources. And also we're doing a lot of lessons learned. And so I want to do a little focus here. And so this past year, there were two types of P&P grants. The first were planning grants, which uses a KDOT consultant, which was tool design, to create a Safe Routes to School plan for a community. And then the second type of P&P grant are called Kickstart grants. And these are $1,500 reimbursable grants to fund a small encouragement or education effort. So both of these grants are going on right now. For this next time, going from 24 to 25, we are starting in the fall. We're just going to do the planning grants. This doesn't mean that the Kickstart grants will never come back, but just this next round of applications are only for the planning grants. So first, we want to talk a little bit about what's in a Safe Routes to School plan. So you may have seen some of these other plans developed around Kansas or around the country, but there's mostly 4 parts of it. The first is vision and goals. And we talked at the beginning of the webinar about how really the big overarching goal of Safe Routes to School is to allow more kids to safely, comfortably, and enjoyably walk, bike, and roll to school. And so the vision and goals are all kind of wrapped up in that statement, but there often are more specific visions and goals that can be catered to the specific community. And the second part is looking at existing conditions. And so this is that baseline of what's happening right now. It includes items like the crash rates, community needs, and current walking, biking, and rolling infrastructure and programs. The third piece of a Safe Routes to School plan starts getting into recommendations. And so the third part is programmatic and policy recommendations, because we know that projects on the ground can only do so much and really need to be supported by those policy and programmatic elements. And so we like to offer these as the kind of framework of the recommendations we put forth. And then lastly, we have those project recommendations where we look at specific locations that the community has told us about or that we can see as the consultant team, and really hones in on those. We give recommendations on what general type of project makes sense to put at that location, and then we can help the community prioritize those projects so that they know, when hopefully that first round of money comes down the pipeline, they know where to put it. So I just wanted to offer a couple examples of parts of the plan so you have a sense of the scope of work that we're doing and also kind of scope of effort for you all as an applicant. So first, I wanted to give you just an example of what an existing condition map looks like. And so basically, we're just looking at the schools. We're looking at where crashes have been for both bicyclists and pedestrians, and then just other general elements that are worthwhile to know about in the community. So roads, railroads, water, green space, just to see how the community is all connected. And this is really where we start from in order to build upon it, inform the project team, and move forward with project identification. As far as program and policy recommendations, I talked about this a little bit before about how these really form some of that background structure to the plan. And you can see these like action 3.1, create a Safe Routes to School brand. So something like publicity or rolling out safety and encouragement campaigns. So these sorts of recommendations that are higher level and definitely collaborative, often across the school and community and potentially other stakeholders. And then for example of project recommendations, sorry, this map is a little bit blurry here, but what we're doing is really identifying hot spots and then deciding where spot recommendations are. And so a spot recommendation might be a project for a specific intersection versus a linear recommendation, which may be a full block. And so we'll be identifying those areas with project recommendations. So we want to be very clear with people who are applying what a Safe Routes to School plan does and what it doesn't. And this doesn't mean that, in the does not do list that we can't get there, but that's just not what this initial plan effort will do. And so as you can see, a Safe Routes to School plan does start a community conversation. It identifies safety and accessibility needs at your school. It creates a project list for the community to use to apply for design and construction funds, and it can help shift the culture of walking and biking. But what it doesn't do is make it easier for families to drive to school, to implement projects immediately, or to guarantee all projects within the plan are built. And these are three important things to know as an applicant, but also as a community. And so if, the biggest complaint is people are waiting in the drop-off lines in their cars for too long, the plan isn't going to come back and make it faster for them. What we're really looking to do is to support and encourage students and their families walking, biking, and rolling. But that said, while these plans are a start, and so, under that don't was like, yeah, this isn't going to implement projects right around the corner, but it can really tee you up to do that. And so we have, or KDOT has another program called Transportation Alternatives Funding, of which there's two categories. So one is for construction projects and one are for Safe Routes to School non-construction projects. So that's that kind of programming policy element. And once you have a Safe Routes to School plan, you can apply for things identified in that plan. You can apply to the TA program to fund those. And there is the next TA grant that you can apply for after this next planning session will be in 2026. And I know that sounds really far away, but it actually is kind of perfect timing given this next round of plans. This next round of plans will be starting this fall and go through the school year. So we'll wrap up next June. So it'd be June 2025, which then gives you time to put in that application in 2026. So while it seems far away, I want to assure you that the timeline actually works out really well. Okay, so with that, I will turn it back over.
Thank you, Sarah. KDOT Safe Route to School program provides non-engineering funding, technical support, and resources to schools and communities to help plan, develop, and implement projects and activities to facilitate increasing the number of K-12 students who walk, bike, and roll to school. And we want to remind you that you don't need an existing Safe Routes to School plan to apply because everyone is eligible. Okay. Some things to get started. You'll want to know your community, know your schools in your community. What's the number of students or the current enrollment, your Title I designation, free and reduced meal eligibility, approximate mode split. And so this, your principal is a great resource to know how students are traveling to school right now. Why does your community need a Safe Routes to School plan? How can underserved communities benefit from a Safe Routes to School plan? And if there are any past or existing Safe Routes to School efforts in your community. You'll want to build your team. So check with your principal or school district staff. They're excellent partners. And think about other supporters. Your application must include a letter of support from the city and the school district. And you can include letters of support from the community. Okay, so there again is our address, our website. A reminder that that applications are due by 5 p.m. on May 3rd, 2024 for this cycle. It's coming up fast. And this is our exciting screen. This is the one I asked Sarah when I first started the job. I asked Sarah to put in there because she didn't want me to throw any confetti or glitter out in the audience. So here's our celebrations slide. We're excited about this effort. We're excited to be kicking off this next phase of Safe Routes to School work in Kansas. And we want to create places where K-12 students and their families can enjoy active transportation on their route to school. Okay, so if we have any questions in the chat for our Q&A session, or feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions to ask.
I don't see any questions in the chat at the moment.
Okay, so we might just fill in with some information if we have that. So it's an easy application. Sarah, I don't know if you want to share the website, the web page for people to see, go out and get information.
Okay, so I will put the link in the chat.
Perfect.
And just as a, so you can all see it. And let me go back to the screen here. So this is the website. It will take you to, we have a couple items here on the website that can be really helpful. One, we have a grants overview, which is just a general kind of, what is this? What does it do? And sends you to other resources. And then the application is just an online survey. And so this sums up some of those items that Anne talked about as far as, what you should try to have together when you start going into it. But as you do the survey, you can also, save it as you go along. So hopefully if you need to go and run something, you can.
So you can save and then go back to your, okay,
Yes.
before you
Mhm.
submit. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you have any questions as you're doing the application or before the application, feel free to reach out to Anne. She's a resource during and after we have grantees. So feel free to reach out either by email or by telephone. And Anne, I don't know, could you put your email address and
Sure.
phone number in the chat too, so it's in there?
And I know sometimes when when I listen to a webinar, I have questions after, so feel free to send those and we'll share those with other applicants, because if you have the question, I'm sure they do too, so. Okay. All right, well, I think we can go ahead and finish for today. And like I said, we'll share question and answers whenever we're finished with both sessions, so that anything that comes up in both will be at our site, right, Sarah? More question. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.